All right, here it is, the Ghostbusters Ecto-1 Lego set. This thing is absolutely phenomenal. I will say though, was definitely not the easiest build. This is probably the hardest build I have done from an official Lego set. I don't know why, but it was quite challenging to figure out how all these pieces went together, just because I think of the way that the instruction manual was, which is enormous. It is, let's see, what's the last page? 304 pages of actual instruction. It is an absolute mammoth of a book. It's a little over, probably getting near 3/4 inch, 5/8 inch thick book. But man, this was an absolute ton of fun to build. Like, I cannot overstate that enough. It was very fun, but challenging. This was, I believe, a little over 2,300 pieces. Again, largest that I've ever done. And it just has so many cool play features. it was so, you should have seen the grin on my face when I got to the end of this build. It was just too much fun. So before we get into looking at the build, I want to just say, so in here, in the book, they do talk about the actual car itself and things that, you know, it was made for. There's some sketches, what they were doing when they designed it. It's a portal command center. They talk about the mechanic, who's behind the car. You know, it is in 3 languages, which is also cool. So this can be sold in, I think it's Spanish and French, I think. Not 100% sure on that. But the beginning of the book just has some pictures and everything about it, and it gives you a little bit overview of the actual build itself, the Ectomobile overview, the bricks that it is, 2,352 bricks exactly. So again, there is some interesting reading in the front of this book before you actually dive into the build. I mean, you have things like the doors that work, which is pretty cool. Now this is based, real quick, this is based off of the Ecto-1 from the newest Ghostbusters, so from Afterlife, because out of the side here, you press, and that opens up our gunner seat. How phenomenally cool is that? So there is our gunner seat that comes out of this thing. And that obviously is not in the Gen 1 Ecto-1. So Gen 1 being the, was it 1987, 86 version of this. So, and that just spins and goes right back in. We also, if you close that again here on the other side, we have the other front door that opens up like that. The wheel moves, and you can also control it by this right here. That's part of the play feature of it. To be able to just go like that and be able to move it. Super cool, super duper cool. Engine opens, which is also very awesome. Whoops, I took that apart. So we look here in our engine bay. It has a pretty detailed engine for a Lego set. We have battery, we've got our timing belt in here, you got some other parts, radiator is right here, we've got the front grille. These are using those skates. There's like 40 skates in here, it's a lot. And then you got some other bits and bobs in here to kind of make it look cool, and it does have a Cadillac motor in there because it is an old Cadillac. So it's got the header covers, I guess those are called. I'm not an engine guy, I'm not a huge car guy, but it's very detailed for my eye. I think it looks pretty cool. And that license plate and that front grille, they're using barrels down here for the bottom fog lights, which is pretty interesting. And the way all of this snaps together, you would not expect it to go together the way it does and how they do it in the directions. It's just really, really cool what they were able to do with this set. All right, now taking a look here at the back, our back opens up, and you can see in there we have our little droid ghost catcher. So if I pull this out here, it slides out. How cute is that? I wouldn't say this is not the greatest looking build because look how big, look how wide the wheels are. Like, I don't know, there's something missing here to me. I think it definitely could have been built, I think, a little bit better. It's not bad, but I just think they could have done a little better on this little mini build in here. Pushes back in, and that trap in there closes. The original version had the carriage that came out that all of the backpacks were on, but this one, they have the little drone thing. And now, one of the final play pieces, let me get up here, keep an eye up top. So this guy here spins all the way around, is connected to the back wheels. And this one is just on a set of Technic arms that kind of rotate, and this has, you know, probably about a 90-degree swing across the front like that, which is pretty interesting. Man, the details up here with the tanks, the ladder, the other tanks over on this side as well are pretty doggone sweet looking. This type of ladder antenna deal. I mean, there is so much. So actually in the book, pull it up for you, they talk about some of these parts in detail. We're not in huge detail, but they do talk about specifics. So this one here talks about the ladder. The roof rack ladder offers quick access to the Ecto-1 special rooftop equipment. It was moved from the older to make room for the new gunner seat. So yes, on the old version, this ladder used to be on this side, but due to the gunner seat being on this side, it's moved over to there. But there's certain things in the different bits and bobs, again, that are up top. In this book, it does have a little bit of background information on them, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then here is the vintage utility spotlight they talk about. Again, there's just a bunch of that in the book, which is very cool. Yes, I did like building this. It was very time consuming. I spent 3 evenings, about 2 hours each night building this here in my shop. So it did take a little bit of time to get everything done. These lights up here, the like siren lights, man, they took a little while just because there's so many tiny pieces to them. Again, I wasn't expecting some of the detail in this build to be so detailed. Like it took a hot minute to put some of this together. Now, for those of you that are familiar with this build, you'll see I didn't put any of the rust pieces on. Now, why is that? That's because I plan on rebuilding this to be the first generation Ecto-1. I like that one the most. I grew up with that one the most. As cool as the gunner seat is, and having that playability to it, and some of the details inside are pretty cool. Oh, I did forget about this one as well. So again, if you've seen the movie, you've got some Stay Puft marshmallows. That's just sitting in here. That's a pretty cool thing. But I really, really enjoyed the first Ecto-1. That was my favorite. That's what I grew up with. So there is a rebrickable model that has you redo a lot of this. It brings the ladder over to the other side. It still has you be able to use the doors. They still stay on hinges, but it's a pretty major rebuild from what I can tell. But I really think that I want to do that. And the other thing I'm going to do before I rebuild it is I'm going to get some lights for this. So I have that coming up in a future video, probably shortly after you guys see this one. I will be installing lights. I might do a video on how to install them, but I'm not 100% sure yet. But there definitely will be a video of me having lights installed in this thing, and that is just going to be too much fun. I cannot wait to be able to do that. They go in here, they go in some of the headlamps. It has sound to it. It is just such a cool thing to do with this build. Look how it's also huge. So I am a medium-sized man, I guess. I'm just shy of 6 foot, and I mean, my hand. This is how big it is compared to my hand. You know, the hood. My hand just covers the hood here. I can barely get my hand and pick it up from the front here with a. You know, this is how wide is this thing? It's probably like 6-7 inches wide. So it's a pretty big build. Challenging, fun. If you are a Ghostbusters fan, this is something 1000% that you need to get while you still can. I was thankfully able to pick this up for MSRP, which was $180, but the box was absolutely like demolished. Like, it was a horrible box, and I did not buy this to collect. Otherwise, that's probably why it was cheaper. I bought this to build, play with, put lights in it, and enjoy the build. That is why I got this, and I think it's pretty cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to do a video of me building it, but that would have taken me so much longer because building the crocodile on video was a ton of work to like actually build here as I'm looking at the camera to look at the parts. But I figured, you know what, I'm just gonna build this one. I'm just gonna enjoy it, put some music in my head, and go with it, and it was just so much fun. So thank you guys for joining in. Stay tuned to see me put some lights in this, and stay tuned for me to rebuild this into the original Ecto-1. It'll be a lot of fun. Thank you guys for joining in. Happy building, and I'll see y'all next time.